This is even better than we expected for the Vancouver Canucks as heading into this season. The Vancouver Canucks have one player poised for a huge breakout, and the Vancouver Canucks have a huge decision to make with this player going into next season, as a lot of teams are reportedly showing interest, and the Vancouver Canucks need to fit him within the lineup. We're going to break down this player, how it impacts the Canucks, and exactly why all fans should be fired up for his return to Vancouver. I'm going to break down all that and so much more in this episode, and you're not going to want to miss it. So with that, let's just hop straight into that, where we did see Thomas Drafts drop a report just a few days ago. It will be linked down in the description, so go check that out as well. But he goes in to speak on Kravtsov. Now he goes in to say the organization, more than anything, views him as a player who came in a moment of his career when his confidence was at an ebb. Now with this, the biggest thing is we've seen how much confidence he had, and it was bare none when joining the Canucks coming over from the Rangers. Still a very young player, 25 years old, he joined the Canucks after putting up 6 points in 28 games with the New York Rangers. He came in to put up 2 points in 16 games before heading to the KHL. Now looking at his numbers throughout the NHL, it's not super flashy, but when looking into the KHL numbers and how this can translate is huge for the Canucks. Now joining the KHL, we've seen a very productive first season, and everyone's looked through the stats. 34 points in 55 games just to go out the season after, putting up 27 goals, 58 points, and a plus 31. Now with Kravtsov, a lot of people might look at this and listen, we'll touch on the fact that yes, Josh Leivo had an incredible season, a veteran around the league that couldn't crack a lineup after a couple stints in the league. But the biggest thing is, Josh Leivo, 31 years old. A lot of the guys on this list are 31 or were a hot commodity coming into the season. Maxim Shabsanov is a guy that was one of the top KHL free agent hunts we've seen going to the New York Islanders, and he finished third, with Kravtsov finishing at 6, 58 points, just a few shy of the leaders, plus 31, which is the second best on the list of top 6. This is a season where he's going to come out and two things are going to happen. He's going to show his worth, and the Vancouver Canucks are going to be forced to put him into the lineup, which we will touch on in a little bit and the implications on that as well. But everything is pointing on a breakout season. And listen, after seeing his seasons from the previous years, a breakout is imminent, but I do expect a huge season coming out of a player like this coming back to the NHL after the stint in the KHL. Now going further into this report by Thomas Drafts, and this is where things get tricky. There's enough interest from other corners of the league that if he hits the waivers ahead of the season, he'd be a high risk of being claimed. Now with the Canucks, you have a couple options. You can go into the season and try to sneak him through waivers. Someone coming back from the KHL that had a very good season but not a good track record in the NHL, you could take a big risk of a 25-year-old, a big body at 6'2". He might not use his body every game, but if he develops more and more as a more impactful player with his body, this will make things more intriguing. Now, if teams are looking at this and he hits the wires, there's going to be a lineup of teams going into it that want to take a swing on the 25-year-old that was a former top 10 pick, coming in at pick number 9 in 2018. Now with the Canucks bringing him in, it does get tricky when looking through the lineup. We know how heavy they are on the forward position when it comes to wingers. On the right side, Brock Besser, Connor Garland, Kiefer Sherwood, and Linus Karlsson, who's set to join the Canucks after a dominant performance in the AHL. On the left side, you can see Jake DeBrusk, Evander Kane, Höglander, and O'Connor. So getting them into the lineup is going to get interesting, and exactly the fact the Canucks are going to have to get him a few games as well. Now going into this, when looking at his time around the league, he did play time with Philip Hedl when they were both on the Rangers. The new teammates played on the same AHL team in 2019. They also played 67 minutes and 50 seconds together on the Rangers in 2022-23. During that time, they outscored their opponents 5-1. Shout out to Adam for this stat as well. But the big thing is, if the Canucks go in, and I'd be willing to put money at some point during the training camp preseason, going into the season, they're going to try this Kravtsov and Hedl line at least one time. Putting him on the second line, yes, call me crazy. You could slide him even to the third, but it's going to get interesting how much the Canucks value the potential out of him compared to guys that have shown it, like Kiefer Sherwood and Connor Garland. And listen, Garland is not coming out of the top 6, but I do expect them to give him a try. Listen, you could play him on the second line. Call me crazy. Listen, we're in the middle of an off season. But looking at the numbers that he put up, outscoring opponents 5-1, this shows that there is at least a little bit of inbuilt chemistry between these two players. Now, going into Filip Chytil, of course, having his career year in 22-23, putting up 45 points. I'm not going to say Kravtsov was the reason for this, but still looking at the numbers and going back to 22-23, where Kravtsov had his career year 6 points, but still, this is a line that's going to be interesting and exactly what the Canucks need to try at some point. Listen, I'm not saying to go into game 1 with Kravtsov playing on Filip Chytil's wing in the top 6, but it is something that Adam Foote needs to at least give a try, because this would lengthen the lineup even more, but it gets confusing on who comes out. Now, going into Kravtsov, we know a 1-year deal coming back to the Canucks. The interesting thing, a UFA Group 6 at the age of 26, and diving into this, if the player has played less than 80 games in the NHL during their span to start their career, then they will become a Group 6 UFA at the end of it. So if the Canucks want to hold on to Kravtsov, if they want to hold his rights as an RFA piece, they would have to get him into at least 16 games to be eligible to stay as an RFA. Now, with the Group 6, it's going to get interesting because there are a couple players within this lineup, including one that is also on the team in Linus Karlsson. Jet will not hit the 80 games unless he played the full season with the Canucks. But it does get interesting when this club is looking at two players that they would like to hold on, 25 and 26 years old, as Group 6 UFAs. This is a club that's going to have to figure out how to get time to not only Linus Karlsson, but also Kravtsov. Now, looking at Karlsson, a dominant year in the AHL. He has shown that he can play in the NHL in 23 games, putting up 6 points, which is the tying the career high of Kravtsov. These guys are going to rotate through, and I think this is the biggest thing to watch out to training camp. Now, listen, Tom Willender and Victor Mancini are going to be very interesting on trying to get into this team as the 6th defenseman with DPD. That battle is going to be awesome to watch, but I think a huge battle to watch is the winger position with the Canucks. We know what the centers are going to be. You might say this is not strong enough. They're going to continue looking for more centers, but the biggest thing is the wing is where it gets interesting, especially on the 4th and 3rd line, as it's going to be a battle on who takes what position, and I think it's up to grabs for anyone. After we know the Canucks looked at him and said, hey, his confidence wasn't high his first time around. We know that teams are in on him and want him if he hits free agency, and the biggest thing is being waiver eligible, where we do see Kravtsov, we see Karlsson, also Quinn Hughes, but we knew he can't go on waivers, nor will he ever. But it's going to get interesting what this club does with it. But I do expect a competitive training camp, which everyone wants, as players are going to fight to the death to get into this lineup. But what was your thoughts on Kravtsov? Listen, I'm super high on this guy, and a lot of people might look at me and say, Mark, you're crazy. And I'm sure a lot of people will say that regardless. But I do expect a world where he does get in, and it's going to be interesting how he does. But Canucks fans, what's your thoughts? Go down and leave a comment down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark. Bye, and take care, Canucks fans.